my friends, and welcome to episode 61 of the Kiss Army Nation podcast. I'm your host, Pasquale Veri. Claudio is still on vacation and can't make it today, but we are joined by our beautiful and talented Rala Brown. Welcome back to the show, Rala.
Hi, it's nice to be here.
Hey, Rala, before we get going, anything new in your Kiss world?
I told you that I had the meet and greet with Ace not too long ago, and that was really
Nice.
awesome. Got the strap, something I've really wanted for a while. So, and he was actually in a great mood, so that was also a plus.
Nice.
Yeah.
It's always a hit and miss with Ace, eh?
Yeah. And then last Tuesday, Kiss concert here in Raleigh. So that was pretty nice. Yeah.
That's awesome.
So cool.
Yeah.
We've got nothing coming in the Montreal, Canada area, so I think I've seen the last of Kiss till the Kiss Cruise in October.
Wow.
Okay, so Rob and the Carusos. No, they're not a boy band. They're the hosts of a unique Kiss podcast called Right Between the Eyes, comprised of Rob Myers and the father and son team of Nick and Nikko Caruso. They are three generations of Kiss fans discussing why they love it loud. On this episode, we're going to meet the hosts of Right Between the Eyes, and we're going to put them to the test. We're going to give you a taste of what goes on their show by putting them on the spot and asking them Kiss-related questions. So we are proud to welcome on the show, first, Rob Myers. Welcome, Rob.
Hey, thanks for having us on. Really appreciate it, guys.
Nick Caruso.
Pleasure to be here, my friend. Thank you.
And Nikko Caruso.
We're just getting started.
We're just
getting started, baby.
I
was going to do it the real way, but I don't. We got to ease in before I start doing Paul Stanley impression.
We were talking before recording, and I listen to you guys almost every morning in the car. I'm catching up on all of your episodes, and it's really surreal, hearing your voices in the car and now listening to you guys online like this. It's really cool. So again, guys,
and actually seeing their faces.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Hopefully we look better than you expected and not worse, because that would be
of course.
that'd be awkward.
And I only released like a 2 or 3 minute preview clip because that's, you won't be able to stand us much longer than 2 or 3 minutes visually. That's what they're like. Oh, let me turn that off now.
Oh no, you guys have a great interaction on the show. It's a lot of fun, and I'm looking forward to having that interaction on this show today as well. So this is going to be cool, guys.
For our listeners who haven't heard about you yet, we wanted them to get to know the host of Right Between the Eyes. Obviously, they can learn more about you through watching your show, and we highly recommend that. But tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got into Kiss. We'll start with you, Rob.
Yeah, Rob.
Just a wee lad in '89. I've told the show. I'm already off to the wrong step. I've told the story a couple different times that I can remember. People might be familiar with a public access TV called 321 Contact. At least in my area, they were kind of showing just some like Nova. Carl Sagan would come on, talk about space. And then this one episode, they were talking about light, and where they were doing it was on the stage of the Dynasty set, talking about the color blue and all that stuff. So I remember like getting the Kiss cards. And then at some point, Mom must have found those, threw those away. Fast forward to 1989, watching Headbangers Ball and seeing Hide Your Heart for the very first time, going, oh, wow. Hey, that's Kiss. Weren't they the guys in the, black and white? I kind of had a history with them, a little bit of knowing like, oh, that's Heaven's on Fire, but didn't really correlate the two together. Mm-hmm. And I got Hot in the Shade probably a month. We got it in the month of December. And immediately was like, oh my gosh, I think I'm a Kiss fan, sporting the Hot in the Shade shirt tonight. So that was kind of like my early start. I had some couple start and stops in there with like knowing who Kiss was, obviously, but then not really getting into the music till Hot in the Shade.
You guys, how did you get first?
Well, you gotta go.
Well,
you gotta go first.
I go back a long way. I think it was the fall of 1975. I was a 10-year-old kid who had just discovered comic books probably a few months earlier. And it was a Friday night, and I was I was allowed to stay up late on the weekends, and there was a show called The Midnight Special, which was on NBC. And I remember putting it on, and they came on, and nothing's ever been the same for me since. It was just like this transformative vision. It was like these real life superheroes playing music and rocking out. I had never seen anything, up to that point. My house was a big Frank Sinatra, Dean Martin house. And my mom, I'd go ride in the car with her. You'd hear all the top 40, Captain and Tennille and Barry Manilow and Fleetwood Mac and all that stuff. So that's all I was really kind of listened to as a kid. But when I saw that Midnight Special, it just changed me. It moved me. I couldn't get him out of my mind. And it's led to why I'm sitting here with all you wonderful people talking about this incredible band tonight.
Very cool. So as the oldest fan of the bunch here, so I go back all the way to the, what was that thing in 1973? The
Coventry?
Yeah, Coventry. No, of course not. No. So for me, it was in 2006. I want to say it was October 2006, which is like a month before my birthday. They released the Kiss Alive box set where they released all four together in this cool like steel case sort of looking thing. And my dad did so I was like 11 years old at the time, 10, 11 years old. My dad did a really good job of lightly guiding me towards some of his hobbies and interests. Some stuck, some didn't. And really Star Wars was the first big one. And then a lot of the comic book stuff was starting. And then he tried to venture into music. So Bon Jovi and the Goo Goo Dolls were the first two that really stuck with. When Crush came out, I was a big, I credit It's My Life as being like my first favorite song ever, because that's the first one I like recognized and would talk about. And then I think it was one of the Goo Goo Dolls songs, I think Broadway, because Dizzy Up the Girl had just came out around 99. So it was like before Gutter Flower. I digress. He was getting excited for that. And then I believe the year after Kissology came out. So he bought that case, he bought that Kiss Alive box set, and then they started playing some of the live shows on Kissology on VH1, which is a channel that doesn't play music stuff anymore, but it used to. And I remember watching The Summit, and that was my first Kiss. It was very cool. So it was a combination of the Kiss Alive box set and Kissology 1, because I got to hear the band and then see the band. And then you showed me Rock the Nation. And then 2-3 years later was the Alive 35 tour. We actually got to see him. So I had this like 3-year slow build to seeing him in concert, but it was really the Summit Kissology box set. And then 3 years later, actually seeing them in concert, which to me is still the greatest piece of art you can see live, in my humble opinion. And I've clearly never looked back, because now we have a podcast talking about it. 13 years later. So
a little bit of brainwashing, but it's okay.
but what's cool is you never told me I had to. It's like, hey, check this out.
Yeah.
Because there's some that didn't work. Like I still really don't get into Styx that much.
Yeah.
I still go back and forth with the Sinatra stuff. I could respect it, but that's just something that doesn't sonically, hit me the way it might have hit you in the family. So, 3 generations. Here we are.
That's right. 3 generations of Kiss fans coming together on your amazing podcast. How did this podcast come about exactly? Rob?
I think I'm probably actually Nico's shirt is the reason this podcast exists. That goes back to probably one of my favorite Batman stories in the last 20 years is a story called Batman 3 Jokers. So all of us in our comic book, there you go. So all of us in our podcasting community, long story short, when this book was coming out, once the 3 issues came out, there was about 7 different podcasts. We decided to do a thing like this and have like a summit and talk about this book. So I'd only started listening to the Caruso show probably a few months prior, so I knew of them. So I knew some of the other players that were on the show. So we're all doing like our round table talking about it. And partway through, I catch Nico's shirt. He's wearing a Dress to Kill t-shirt.
Yeah.
And instantly I would go, huh, I bet he's just some dude that went to Hot Topic.
I knew.
And bought the shirt. If I ask him, name me a Kiss song, and it better not be Rock and Roll All Night. There's no way he's going to say, Getaway or something like that. So the show's going on, and I can't take my eyes off his shirt because, you put any Kiss fan in a room, you see a Kiss anything, it's like shiny ball. We're all like, oh, Kiss, what? Say Vinnie Vincent, I'm going to freak out, So I had sent a message privately, a private DM, like, hey, cool shirt. So while we're having this Batman 3 Jokers discussion, the three of us are having a side discussion about Kiss. So I'm starting to get this point of like, I'm getting less interested in Batman and more like, so talk more about Destroyer, talk more about, so fast forward, I'm going to say a bad word on the show. Kiss Dubai 2020. I know that's going to, so
I'll bleep that out.
Yeah, you'll edit that out. So that was coming up on the horizon. So it was like, hey, this New Year's Eve thing's going on. Are you guys going to watch it? And maybe I convinced somebody to spend more money than they already had. So, I feel so bad. So
it's like throwing it into thin air.
It still hasn't come, so I don't really care anymore. It's fake money at this point.
So the event comes and goes, and we're still talking. Well, I'm talking to my wife. I'm like, this was so much fun. Like, well, the event's over. So like every couple of days, like, hey, how's it going? Well, I started buying vinyl like a crazy fool. And because during the pandemic, couldn't do anything but order stuff off Amazon. So I was like, hey, I got this, or hey, I got that. And I'd been wanting to do a music show for a while, but I'm like, I didn't want to do it by myself. And I was really wanting to do a Kiss show, but who am I going to find that's going to want to do a Kiss show? And my wife was like, well, just ask these two guys you've been chatting with. I'm like, I don't know. Are they going to want to do it? She's like, they're podcasters, right? And I said, well, yeah. She's like, what's the worst case? If they say no, then you move on. And so I kind of had put it out there and just kind of let it sit. And they're like, well, we're thinking about it. And instantly I was like, oh, my dog's dead. They just shot my dog. It's, it's done, And about a day or so later, they're like, yeah, what are you kind of thinking of? And then over the next 6 months, we started building, this idea of what the show is going to be. What do we want to put into it? So actually the 30th of this month will be our 1 year anniversary of doing the show.
Cool. Congratulations.
So that's kind of how it started on my end of wanting to branch out from Batman and Robin and really get back to my first love being music. And it wasn't until the end of the road where I started going, we're about at the end of Kiss's touring career. I really want to talk about this band, and I want to go backwards and kind of go through some history stuff and just looking for the right vehicle to do it. And Nico's shirt provided that. That's my long-winded answer. Sorry.
Which is cool. And then we did the Let's Go show.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it was just, listen, there's something about Kiss fans when we're a big community, but yet we're not, you know what I mean? It's like when you spot somebody, I certainly didn't have a lot of friends or don't have a lot of friends that are big Kiss fans at all.
Yeah.
Friends for 25, 30, 40, 45 years. No one in my family besides my son really is. So I had really nobody to talk about the band with. And I'm a big lover of music. My favorite thing, we talk about comic books and sports and all that, but there's nothing greater to me than a live concert.
Yeah.
I think it's just like the biggest thrill for me. The biggest high I could have is watching a band play live, and especially them. So it was just natural. Rob, we had an instant connection. He's just a wonderful guy, and the talent that he has behind the microphone of editing the show, adding all those extras into it. It's such a treat for me because we do the show, and I never know what it's going to sound like, and then I listen to it, and I'm like, I'm not trying to brag. I don't like to listen to myself, but just to listen what he incorporates into the show is amazing. Yeah. And again, it's like, I think Kiss fans, like all of us here, we just kind of, this pandemic and everything and being on Twitter, it's like we all kind of found each other, and it's just really neat to form another Kiss Army, if you will. You know, I mean, that's really what it's all about.
And just to wrap on the idea of how it all came to be is we did this one-off show on this different podcast altogether that's not even around anymore. And then we're like, yeah, do you still want to like keep doing that? And it's funny. We were like not cocky in a bad way, but it was like we were making an album. Like I started drawing all these sketches of our names and then like all these ideas for a show. And then we were treating our Twitter account like it had like 1 million followers because we were putting up teases of the name and we had like 3 followers. And it's like, oh, what could it be? It's like right between the eyes. We did Rocket one that was like a spin on Rocket Ride. We did Rock on Pot Over, like just some cheesy ones, and then we would tease that it was going to be right between the eyes, and it felt like a band writing their first album, and now we're trying to get mainstream and selling out to get to. No, I'm just kidding.
But Nikko, your role specifically intrigues me on the show because you're the youngest member of the show. Do you find it, I don't know, intimidating being A, with your dad, and B, with 2 seasoned Kiss fans?
Nah. No, not at all. The only time I do in the sense, and I have in the sense, and it's only a good intimidation too, because that intimidation leads to learning and leads to maybe me discovering something I haven't before. But sometimes it's just pure jealousy that they've seen the original 4 guys multiple times and I haven't, at least live. And sometimes it's daunting because there's certain things about the band or certain things they saw back in the day or just certain things that hit different that probably had more meaning to them at the time. So it's a cool intimidation, but I also think they're so supportive in the way of no one's ever trying to outsmart me or trying to quiz me. Like sometimes you like join a club or you join like a fraternity or a sorority and the older people are trying to like test you and stuff. No, no, man, it's all support here. So it's cool. Now, will it be that way with other Kiss fans? I mean, I'm not sure. I met a lot of them. But like my dad and Rob were saying, there's something about Kiss fans that I don't feel personally with like any other thing in the world. Like when you see someone else wearing a Kiss shirt or when you see someone else in Kiss gear, it's like, oh, they're the ones, like, because it takes, I think it's such a specific, really awesome, dope person that loves this band. So no, it's all love. Nice. I hope. I don't know. I mean, I hope it comes off that way.
Stay tuned.
That's our 1-year anniversary and the end of the show.
What are some of your favorite topics on the show and why?
I'm going to give the Paul Stanley, Gene Simmons answer. Well, it's our latest and current episode 26 of Right Between the Eyes. We just covered Revenge. We celebrated its 30th anniversary. And, I was trying a couple new things on the show, like, hey, I found an old issue of Metal Edge. Let's read this and play the parts of Gene, Paul, Eric, and Bruce and kind of go through that and still do a lot of the same things. Some of the funny ones, we watched Phantom of the Park together.
That's mine. That was so fun, man. That was wild. If you haven't gotten to that one yet, play it while it's on. Play it while it's on. Play while Phantom of the Park is playing. That's the most fun watch along thing I've ever done. How about you?
This is going to sound bad because I love everything that we do on the show, Kiss. The talk about the live experience, the reviewing the albums, but probably one of my favorite things has become where we will go into the Kiss family. Because Rob's extensive knowledge of all the members during the 80s and their solo projects. We're talking about Ace Frehley. Like, I really never really listened to Frehley's Comet.
Yeah.
And we just did it. We did an episode about a month ago on it, and I was blown away by how great that album is. And I had the pleasure of meeting Ace too a couple times in my life when I was in the restaurant business, and so you'll hear that story on the podcast. It was told a while ago, but that to me is fun. The other thing I kind of like do too is when we do our opening band segment, we had a chance to talk about Def Leppard, Bon Jovi. So it's cool that we're because I love music and they are, and I love Kiss and I always want to talk about Kiss, but it's kind of cool how we can incorporate other bands into the conversation and kind of like do that whole 6 degrees of separation of Kiss and everybody else. So
Yeah.
No, we were talking off air before Robbie, before you came on, and I've been listening to your earlier episodes, and a lot of your episodes have been done before on other podcasts, but when I listen to yours, there's a different spin, a different take on it. I learned something new from it, and it's not like, oh, I've heard this before. It's the same topic, but done in a totally different way, and I think that's what makes your show so special and so interesting to listen to. And your passion from the three of you, it really comes off clearly when you talk about the band.
Oh, thank you, my guy. I appreciate that.
Yeah. Go ahead, Rob. I mean, we try, right?
We try.
I think that's one of the biggest things, like listening to the Caruso's show, Vigilante 1939, excuse me, that I could tell like the same chemistry that they have with their other Nick. I was like, not that I'm trying to transplant, one person for another, but their show is so genuine. I'm like, this is going to work in the same fashion. And I think when you get, like we keep saying on this show right now, that when you get any Kiss fans together, like I'm looking at the monster flag in the back of Rolla's picture there, and I'm already starting to like list songs in my head. So if this was a whole show about Monster, I'm going to be in it from beginning to end, and we're all going to talk passionately about it. Because it's Kiss and it's Kiss music. I don't care where it ranks in the list of the albums. We're going to have something positive to say. Yeah, we may throw, something like, "Oh, Take Me Down Below." I don't think we probably should be playing that song again, Gene and Paul. But there's a spot of reverence for it too that I think the three of us bring out, and somebody's going to say something that you're like, oh, I like this certain phrase, and it just starts a whole conversation that's going to go in a completely different direction, and it's unscripted. And I just like the spontaneity that the three of us have, and like Nico has said, the different points of view of where you have gotten in and off, maybe sometimes of the Kiss train at some points.
Yeah, and I think there's so many great Kiss podcasts, and I think
this one included.
We of course, I think we try to keep it real. Where when this band is like a friend, they do great things. They do some things that make you scratch your head a little bit, and so we're not afraid to kind of take some shots at them when we think it's deserved. But we'll never do it in a way just to make fun or But I like to tease Paul on Twitter and Gene on Twitter. Sometimes they they'll be on there and you just can't help but laugh with some of their stuff.
With Paul's pizzas.
Paul's pizzas has become kind of a topic of us that they look burnt sometimes. So we say we're not sure if they're as good as he's saying they are. But at the same time, it's like Rob said, we do have such a reverence and respect for them that try to treat them like friends, like we would, like we're just very honest about it. I think when it's great, it's great. When there's some things like that Dubai thing and stuff, I think it's okay to call it out and say, hey, listen, really, what's going on here. So,
and I think too, from an actual podcasting side of it, from the content and like the personality aspect of it is, not that I would say are podcasting experts, but Rob's been doing it for a long time. And me and my dad have only been doing it for a little over 3 years, but we have our own show. We've popped up on a bunch of other shows. I do some stuff on TikTok as well. And I think it's so easy when you start a podcast or you join one to want to copy or replicate something you heard before. And then you get lost in the tropes of how to sound and you start trying to mimic a voice instead of finding your own. And I think us having experience doing podcasts already, when we started the show, we were able to skip a lot of those nerves and a lot of those reservations about starting the show. And we were able to be ourselves and use our own voices right off the bat, right away. And to now add on with them to our saying, I also think Kiss is there's such a camaraderie between the fan base that it's already such a safer space. Because the band allows you to be vulnerable and be weird and be out there. And it's like this perfect storm of a bunch of stuff for us that I think really clicked. And we're just getting started. It's going to get longer and longer as the show goes on until I drag it out at the end.
Just don't do your ace freely.
No.
What about Tommy Thayer?
I'm not gonna do
You could do the Paul Stanley
I'm
though.
not gonna do Tom.
Sure.
The tour.
I could try the Paul. But
No, you were talking about listening to other podcasts, and it's as podcasters, it's difficult to not second guess ourselves and
Yeah.
trying not to repeat what the other person is doing, but then hurting your own show.
Right,
You know,
right.
you guys interviewed Ron Williams,
Yes.
and
Yes.
we did as well, and
Yeah.
ours was already pre-recorded, but I think it was done after yours. So I made sure I didn't listen to your episode yet till we
Mhm.
recorded ours.
Yeah.
Because I
Smart.
didn't want to second guess myself.
Yeah.
And I found both episodes were different, coming from different perspectives, and I think
sure. Oh, amen.
there's learned something new from it. You know,
Yeah.
such a great guy.
Oh, wonderful.
And he's from your neck of the woods.
Yeah,
so
nice
Yeah,
from
Vancouver,
Canada. We
Canada.
met so
Yeah.
many
Yeah.
nice Canadians, man.
So, do you guys find it difficult finding topics for your show?
We haven't yet, just because we're only on episode 26, where I'm like, we got a ways to go. The hardest thing is to break up the albums and go,
Right.
okay, we don't want to go
Mhm.
through 27 albums and do 27 episodes and go, okay, well, now what? Trying to make those be like the little moments. I think that's why we've picked, like, let's do the 30th anniversary. And then this year there's like 5 where I'm like, okay, we can do all 5. But trying to find, you talk about other podcasts. I've heard other podcasts do certain things, and I'm all the time like la la la. Like I don't want to hear the other ideas,
Yeah.
but I still want to listen and watch all
Yeah.
of these great shows. And sometimes I'm like watching an episode, and in an episode of a show, somebody says something that's completely off, that's not that topic, but I'm like, ooh, that would work for an episode. So we've got some other things, and we've got, we're comic book guys, so I don't know how many podcasts are going to be talking about Psycho Circus or the Phantom Obsession book that
Mhm.
just recently ended. So taking our comic knowledge and maybe spending a little time in different forms of media with Kiss. So right now, at least in the early part of the show, sky's endless. So we'll see where it goes.
And you brought up a great
Yeah.
point off air about
air.
there's been a lot of things to talk
Yeah.
about.
They've given us a lot. This, I in my wildest imagination, I never would have believed we would be getting, the Destroyer Deluxe box set that we were able to. I think we milked that for like 3 episodes or whatever.
we did.
We milked.
And then you have the Off the Soundboard series, right? Which our third one's coming out, Donington, in a couple of weeks. So there's been a lot of Kiss content, and they've always been a little stingy with some of this stuff as far as on the music side is concerned. So the fact that they're opening up the vaults and they're doing all this is just giving us a lot of stuff here that we didn't. It's been a blessing, I would say, that we have a lot more stuff than I thought we would have. At least I thought they would have saved a lot of this till after they were completely done, to be honest with you. And then we would have, over the next 5 years, started to see some of this trickle. So I give them credit. I mean, not anybody else on this podcast, but I'm not getting any younger. The 3 of you are, the 4 of you are, but I want as much as I can get, as fast as I can get it, because like I said, I want to be able to enjoy this stuff now when I really do dig it, and nobody knows what happens in 5-10 years or whatever. So they've had that machine going pretty good here, and I don't think it's going to stop. I think we're going to get a lot of anniversary deluxe editions still to come.
And I do want to give Rob a lot of credit too. He really has this thing outside of the box, like a good drummer, a good band member would, with the Kiss family tree, with the opening act segment. Because I think it's easy. We started and we're like, okay, let's just talk about Kiss. But then when you sprinkle in episodes with different bands and different people who have been attached to Kiss, it also, like I said, it makes it more interesting, and you might learn something from it. Like, I didn't know that Bon Jovi opened for them, and I didn't know that eventually we're going to get into other bands and stuff as well. And I would have never thought to listen to Freely's comment, because I was so limited to just the band that I wasn't for a long time really interested in hearing what they did outside of the Silver and Black, because I'm like, that's what made me like them. That's what I'm gonna focus on.
So before we give our listeners a taste of what your show is like, I want each of you to give sort of like a public service announcement. Why should Kiss fans listen to your show? And Nico,
shit.
I want you to do Paul Stanley, man.
I can't go first. I can't go first.
Go
ahead,
with
Mr.
Rob.
Rob, you start the beat, buddy. Do it.
Oh, because I said so. No.
Because I Ace is back, right?
Yeah,
And he told you
Ace is
so.
back and he told you so.
Yeah.
That alone, generations is the big, I think, is a big driving force of this show. And I've off topic, my wife talks about how can my sister's cake look like this and taste like this, and my cake tastes like this, and mom's cake tastes like this. It's all the same cake and we're using all the same ingredients. It's what each other does with those ingredients that makes up the whole, depending on how your cake or your Kiss experience comes together. So when I primarily came into the 90s, the first thing I did is I hit 89 and I went backwards to see like, oh, where did Ace and Peter go? Where did Vinny go? And when Nick came in, it was basically right at the start, and Nico's coming in at the tail end of it. So we have this timeline that branches out, but still comes back around full circle to all of us. So we're all looking at Destroyer, for example, 3 completely different ways than how it hit us. And I think that's something that we are offering that maybe some other shows may not be, with just our twist. That's my public service announcement.
It's really hard to say it any better than you said, Mr. Rob. It really is about the time span of the 3 of us here and how we each bring a different perspective, and yet it's still the same love and adulation for the band. And I think too that the only thing I can add to it is it's completely real, and it's pretty much outside of Rob's super editing. It's really just 3 guys with really no agenda, right? We're just sitting here and we're taking whatever it is that we're talking about, and it's just like we're in the same room together, and we're just sitting there having a beer, having a coffee or whatever, and talking about something that we really love.
Yeah, it's really hard to follow that. I want to do some Paul, but I can't. I'm on the spot. It's we have fun. Fun is the word I'm going to use, and to kind of put a bow on what the both of Rob and my dad just said is it's fun and it's authentic, and it really is. For the PSA for me would be, it's just 3 people who have come in at 3 different times, and then we all try to coexist where they are at this moment in time. And we have a lot of laughs, and Rob is a master producer. So I mean, the things he works in there are so much fun. So I do think it's a lot of fun. It's a blast every time we record. And I'm someone who doesn't, for a variety of reasons, maybe I'll get into one day, that I don't listen to podcasts. I do for personal reasons, but a lot of the feedback we get and some of the stuff I hear, because I do go back to listen to this one because what Rob does to the show. So that should tell you something. I don't normally like to listen to shows I do, but Mr. Rob Myers here sneaking the stuff in.
I know we mentioned earlier about how we'd like our listeners to get an idea of what to expect from your podcast. So we're going to ask you a few questions so we can get a perspective and opinions of 3 generations of Kiss fans. The first question, Gene mentioned in a recent article that rock is dead. Do you guys agree? Why? And if so, why or why not? We'll start.
I'm actually going to go first because my Wolfgang Van Halen shirt I'm wearing right now. I think it's dead. And see, everyone's going to take that soundbite and roll with it.
Nico says it's dead.
I think in terms of mainstream recognizability and commercialization, it is hibernating in a way. But in terms of quality and entertainment and pure badassery that's being put out there, I still think it's alive and well. You just have to find it. It's not going to be on the radio, unfortunately, unless it's like if you count like Coldplay who gets a radio play, or maybe they'll throw on like when they might put on like Roller Coaster from Bon Jovi back from This House Is Not For Sale, but you have to go find it. So I think it's dead to mainstream popularity outside of the legacy bands. but it is alive and well if you go looking for it. And I challenge you to look for it, which everyone who listens to this clearly does. So that's my PSA for different people. I'm curious, what do you think about this? Because we talk about this.
Yeah,
often.
I tend to be a little bit negative with Gene and do think that it dead on that main level where I don't know that we'll ever see it really thrive on a commercial level. And, you know, I get really melancholy because I see all my groups and they're all getting up there in age, and I don't know how much longer it's going to be. I mean, the Stones are still playing, but what could they have? A few more years? Our guys are going to call it in here. Kiss is at the end of the road a few more months from now. So I know Bruce Springsteen just announced a tour. He's getting up there, but I think from a concert, from a live perspective, it's very much alive. It's thriving. The concert tickets, I've never seen anything escalate in price the way they have. It's just, it's ridiculous what you have to pay, but the demand, it's all supply and demand. But from a perspective of people my son's age and, you know, he's unique. There's a lot of people I know that their kids like the music they like, but that's a small sector. I think by and large, it is dead. I really do think it's dead. I think that we will keep the memories alive and we will play the songs and I don't know. I don't see any revolution. I don't know who's going to bring it back. You look at what happened with the Foo Fighters. They've certainly done their best to keep it going. And with the tragic death of Taylor, I don't know what's on their agenda. You know, Def Leppard's got a banger of an album coming out. It just shipped. It sounds fantastic, but I don't know how many people we're going to go see them. They're going to fill some stadiums and stuff, but I just don't know that outside of the 20,000 in various different states that I don't know how much alive it could be, really.
Yeah, just to what Nico said, put a bow on it. I kind of think that as too. It's alive as long as the bands are still putting out stuff that are already existing. Like I'm a big fan of Dream Theater and Seven Dust and, you know, the Bon Jovis and Def Leppards. But once those bands, like for me, one of my newest bands, and now they've been around 10 years, is Alter Bridge, the guys from Creed with Miles Kennedy. You know, I was like, oh, I don't know what other band, and they didn't even hit as big as Creed was. And you've got, was it Greta Van? I can never remember their name.
Fleet.
Yeah. And I'm like, no one's rising at a point of an Aerosmith, a Stones. Who's going to be the next Kiss? And I'm not talking like a group like Ghost, but like Nico said, you've got to find it. If you're already not following these artists, then I think Gene probably is right that it's dead. I'm not taping the Tonight Show anymore to see the latest and greatest band. I will when Def Leppard comes on soon to promote the album, but I'm not actively, back in the videotape days, putting in Johnny Carson to tape and see what band is going to be playing tonight or who's going to be on David Letterman. I think those days are kind of gone. You've got your Taylor Swifts and things like that, but as far as somebody coming out rock that's going to set the world on fire, I think it's done.
I think that's the shame. We're never going to see the rise of a supergroup again, a Kiss, Aerosmith, Def Leppard. Like you said, what comes close today? I don't know. Wolfgang. I like Ghost. There is some good music out there. There really is. But I find, I don't know, Nico, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think, you know, young people today, they don't have a favorite band anymore. They have favorite songs here and there, but in terms of liking a band like we like Kiss, I think that's non-existent now.
Explain Wolfgang, the crowd. We went to go see him, but what age is the crowd for Wolfgang Van Halen?
It was older.
Sure.
which is you know, cool. But you're in
the minority. He was in the minority.
That was
Wolfgang Van Halen.
That was a little bit of a litmus test too. But also, I think, and not to make this conversation kind of topic shift here, but you know, the music industry also has really even changed to quick consumption. Now you got studios, which is just a recent development. You got a lot of labels asking their artists to create something for TikTok or create a song that has a really catchy 30 seconds that they could put in videos. Like a lot of artists have come out in the past couple of weeks saying that they have songs that the label won't let them put out because they won't sound good on a 30-second TikTok video. So, like you said so wonderfully, Pasquale, is even the consumption, no one even has, I think, many favorite artists anymore. They like a couple songs from a few people, and they're more interested in going to like a Lollapalooza where they could go watch 3 songs from Doja Cat and then leave. And then that one band Green Day was really big back in the day. I like that song, American Idiot. Let's go watch that. Now I'm gonna bounce around some other stage.
Yeah.
And the Struts, if you know who they are, there was a moment I thought something was gonna happen, because they headlined the Victoria's Secret fashion show and they got 2 songs and everyone else only got 1. And they played I think In Love with the Camera.
You're right. And Body.
Oh, yeah.
And Body Talks. And those songs they were trying to pump out in the mainstream, and they were playing as all the models came out and whatever. And I'm like, oh wow, they really put a rock group, like a true rock band, to headline this big event, and then nothing really came.
And Joe Elliott was really, from Def Leppard,
Joe
was
Elliott
really
was
trying
them too,
to back them and push them, and it just went nowhere. What a terrific live show. We caught them opening up for the Foo Fighters, and I was just fixated on them for a while, and they were my new thing, and bought the albums, and then I could just see that it just wasn't going anywhere.
I wasn't going to catch
and that's okay for me, because I still like them, and they come and see it, but like I was trying to convince some of my friends, like, listen to this band, and most of my friends have moved on to country. So that's grimace your face. But unfortunately, I know we're close to the same age. I'm a couple years older than you, but most of the people that I know and my younger sister are it's like that's been their progression from rock to country,
and I don't get it. Like I don't,
and it's fine. There's some great country experts.
No disrespect,
but it hasn't happened for me, and I haven't really seriously tried. I've kind of put my foot in, a little bit, and it just hasn't been my thing. I'd rather go listen to old David Bowie or like I've actually found myself becoming fans of bands and people that I wasn't a fan of in the 70s or the 80s. David Bowie's a classic example where I was never a big David Bowie fan. I used to be sick of all the videos on MTV and all that. And since his death, I've become like this, just, a huge going back into the archives and some of the live shows he's put up and been one of my regrets that I've never seen him. But that's where I go. I go back to the past. I don't see anybody right now that I can fall in love with, I guess.
Right. Rallo, what are your thoughts? I'm curious. You think rock is dead?
Yes and no. It's like the guy said, as far as new bands coming up, there's not anything. I mean, there are a few bands that I follow. They're more metal. In This Moment is a good band, a woman band. I don't know if you've heard of her.
Good stuff.
Iron Maiden is still there, but
they're still around. Iron Maiden.
I mean, I don't know. That's a hard question. As far as old school rock and roll, and going to the record store and buying records or CDs, and now you just stream everything. So in that respect, it's all different. And I think maybe that's a lot of what Gene meant, that rock and roll was dead because of that.
I think maybe new rock and roll might be dead, but rock and roll is not dead as long as we keep it alive. Like Nick, you were saying, we go back to the earlier stuff, and now with the revival of vinyl. And
that's a great
to pick up that record and with the artwork and listen to the music from beginning to end, not skipping from beginning to end. I think rock is different, but not dead, in my opinion.
That's a great point. And I don't know if you heard that on the show or not, but I blame Rob, started me on this vinyl thing. I don't know what it was, but during the pandemic, I bought about 30 to 40 albums, and we don't even have a turntable, right? Mm-hmm. I was just buying them, and it made me feel like a kid again, just like you said. And I tried to instill this on him and his sister that, forget the mixtape, forget just, your iPhone. Like, there's something about putting that record on and, looking at the album cover and the back cover, pulling the sleeve out And those albums told stories. They were important. And I lost that for 25, 30. I lost that for a long time, you know, because I became the same guy with the CDs and then able to burn CDs and make your mix CDs. And so it's been, you know, everything that's old is new again. And now look at vinyl. It's short. You can't get it. The supply chain's bad.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
The price has gone through the roof. If you try to get some of the reissues from like 3 years ago, 2 years ago,
Yeah.
they're like $80 to $100 on eBay, you know, but you're so right about that. The vinyl is really strong right now. And I think it's here to stay.
Yeah. Yeah. I hope so. So a contentious issue with a lot of Kiss fans is the Tommy and Eric wearing the Spaceman and Catman makeup. Yeah. Yeah. So curious to see what you guys think about that. Rob?
I hate it. Can't stand it. No. This is one question that you had sent to us that I belabored over. And I was telling my wife, she's like, you're going to talk the whole entire podcast if you give that long-winded answer. So I'm not going to listen to my wife. I'm going to give you a long-winded answer.
Heck yeah.
So
That's what we do best.
That's what we do best. It's the timing of how everything happened. Where people going, if I was Eric Singer, I would tell Paul and Gene not to wear it. You know what? Then they're going to find somebody else, and somebody else. They're going to call Eddie Cannon. They're going to call whoever to do that. For those of us that are old enough to remember New Coke and what a colossal failure New Coke was, and people were like, we want old Coke back. As soon as they have Giraffe Boy and Goat Man up on stage next to Paul and Gene, I mark my words, as a Kiss fan, you could have somebody going, why did they just put him in Ace and Peter's makeup and be done with it? I think as Kiss fans, we're not happy. But my long-winded answer that I alluded to was Peter holding out and going, okay, I want more money. And that's not the topic I'm trying to get at, but he called their bluff, and Paul and Gene are like, we will go to Japan with or without you. And knowing that they could probably call Eric back and get him in the band. So if you hear Eric tell that story, he got to the moment of rehearsal. It wasn't till like the 11th hour that they were like, oh yeah, you're going to wear the cat makeup. And he was like, okay. In the time frame that I'm talking about, it's the farewell tour. Like, Kiss is going away. We're done. Why are they going to recreate the wheel for 7 shows? The Australian and Japan shows. They weren't going to do it. And once they start playing with Eric, they start realizing, and I'm not trying to disparage Ace and Peter all by saying this, but whatever issues Paul and Gene had, all of a sudden it kind of became fun again. So they're like, all right, they saw that this can continue beyond the farewell tour. And then you had the revolving door of Ace. Nico, what's your favorite line? Like, hey, we got one more tour, Ace.
Oh man.
Do you want
From the documentary? No, I
Come
can't
on,
do it because he swears like 8 times. But
yeah, the
Rob,
long
that's a
story
great point.
Yeah, the long story short was like, you could go get Tommy to put in makeup. So then Tommy comes in. It was this whole thing of like, okay, how much longer are they going to go? How much longer are they going to go? So then I'm just using Goat Boy, for example. So Eric's Goat Boy, he leaves and Peter comes back, and now we have the cat. You've got this brand of all of them that's instantly recognizable. Why are you going to change that formula? Yeah, it was great to see Eric Carr as the Fox and Vinnie Vincent, but you start saying like, oh, Vinny's the Ankh warrior. Like, where's the next step? You can hear Paul and Gene in the 80s talk about it. Like, what's the next flavor of this that we start diluting? So for me, now it's 2022 and Eric and Tommy have been in that makeup. To me, it's no difference than, a police officer retiring and somebody else coming in and wearing, or a baseball player, if they don't retire that number, wearing that number on the field and still representing the band. I don't see any issue with it. And I was like, yeah, okay, maybe they could have given Tommy the Bandit and retooled the Hawk makeup. But for the average general audience that's going to see Kiss, it looks a certain way. And I think it would start to detract from what Kiss was and look different and look less like Kiss, just so we have members in different makeup. So that's my personal opinion. It never bothered me. And being a drummer, if Gene and Paul said, Rob, we want you to fill in for Eric and you get to wear the cat makeup, holy crap, I get to wear that iconic makeup and I get to play behind the greatest band in the world.
Yeah.
Hell yes, I'm going to do that job. So for the people that want to kind of poo-poo on Eric and Tommy, there were people that would probably listen to your show that would give their right arm, Def Leppard, to be able to do that. That's my soliloquy.
Say, on the cruise, we did a question and answer. It was a couple of years back, I think, and someone asked Eric that very same question, and he answered it pretty much the way you did.
Nice.
Yeah, I'm gonna wear the makeup. Sure, I'll do it. I mean, that's exactly what he said, and everybody was like, "Wow!" But I don't blame him either.
Yeah.
It's like actors stepping into different roles. Like there's been 3 Spider-Man, there's been 7 Batman, and Rob brought up something that I didn't even like think about, because I was thinking about how I was going to answer it too. And they become such a brand, and that makeup is so iconic to where it starts getting weird if you keep changing the characters. And at that point, they had the makeup, they left it, and then they came back with the reunion, Psycho Circus, and Farewell. And it's like, well, if we're going to keep going, let's just keep going. And I don't know. It's hard for me to say if it would have been different if Paul or Gene left, but we don't live in that world. So it's hard to conceptualize it. But I think it being also the lead guitarist and the drummer, I also, not to downplay their roles in the band, I think it works a little bit extra, but it's just like actors reprising or stepping into roles. And like Rob said, people are coming to see the Kiss show. They were looking for the cat and the spaceman and the Star Child and the demon. They're not looking to see like the fox or the bandit or the I never know, what do you call it? Ankh for Vinnie Vincent. Yeah. That one I never dug. I dug the heck out of the fox, but not the Ankh.
Yeah, I mean it works. It works for one reason. It works because of the reunion tour. And it works because the originals did reunite and they played together for almost 5 years, and they gave everybody pretty much what they wanted. Those guys also did sell the makeup, right? They took the money, Ace and Peter. So you have to be fair. And I was one of those guys that after the farewell tour, and when I didn't go to I missed the Rock the Nation tour, which was a great tour because I was kind of like, I'm tired of these guys now. What the hell, man? I thought it was over. What are they doing? Now they got Tommy, they got Eric, and I was a little bit miffed at them, but it didn't take long because as soon as I saw my son was starting to get into him, I said, now I got to raise the next Kiss fan here.
Yeah.
And these guys are pretty solid. I mean, no one can doubt how good Eric is on the drums, and Tommy's an adequate replacement for Ace. He's not Ace, but he's surely good enough to do the job. And listen, if they didn't do it again, we all wouldn't be here. It would have been over. So I'm very grateful that it all transpired the way it did. It would have been weird if there was no reunion with the original 4. Then I think people probably may not have bought it. It may not be to the point of where it is today, but I'm glad.
So what would you guys like to see in the final Kiss show?
Oh yeah.
Oh man. The final. I think we've played with this discussion a little bit. The final Kiss show, if I was picking it, well, all living members I would love to see play. Vinny, like Paul and Gene, bury the hatchet, get Vinny up there for Lick It Off, I Love It Loud or whatever, and just kind of rotate people in, or if nothing else, Rock and Roll All Night, bring everybody out for that final song. But it'd be great to see Bruce Kulick's band open up, be the headliner, and then Ace with Peter, maybe Vinny makes a guest appearance somewhere. But I think putting a bow on it and acknowledging everybody that's been a part of this band, taking a moment of silence from Mark St. John and Eric Carr, and really bring it together, and seeing 7, 8 Kiss members on stage take that final bow. That's what I would want. Even God forbid if it's the exact same show that Rock the Nation has been this whole entire time, I would take that with those other members coming in and out and taking that final bow. That's what I would want out of a final show.
Well, listen, I agree with Rob. I think it, it probably ends in Madison Square Garden. We fantasize about making the trip there, even if we have to sit up in the nosebleed seats or whatever. So yeah, I would like to see everybody who was a part of KISS, but if it's humanly possible, and we're not going to Creatures Fest, and I know Peter just played, right? How was he? Was he good? I didn't see the video.
The video I saw, he sounded fine.
All right, so the show has to end with the original four. It just has to. He's got to have the makeup on. He's got to be behind the drums. If they could all possibly do it, Ace has to be there. And whether or not I like rock and roll all night, I've grown tired of it or whatnot, it has to end with those four on that stage with that song. They come out and they do the curtain call where they, raise their arms and bow. That to me is the only way it can end. This is where if they don't make that happen, and it's no slight to Eric and Tommy, but it began that way and it needs to end that way. And I'm sure those guys would gladly step aside for that.
Mm-hmm. Everything they just said is great, but If I Stole Your Love is not in the set list. It's a colossal failure, and it devalues their whole career. No, I'm just salty because I've never seen that song live, and they were before my first KISS show. They were playing it and dropped it like 3 shows before us. So I'm still.
That's got nothing to do with the topic.
I'm still very. I know, but I'm using this as my platform. I'm using this as my platform to complain about one more thing.
You're rambling.
No, I think what the both of them said is exceptional, and I think any version of that's great. I do think whatever it looks like, sounds like, feels like, Ace and Peter have to be somewhere, somewhat, somehow, as a way to give a little send off, because it did start that way. It should end that way. They did it for the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame together, so they definitely. I would hope that they would do.
Well, they didn't play together.
No, but like they were physically.
Yeah, they were there.
Because I don't know if those two guys would. Me personally, I'm not sure if those two guys would put on the makeup and go out there. But maybe they would play themselves or just come out themselves and do something. I don't know. Know.
That's interesting. You're right. I don't know if they would either.
You could have Peter come out and sing Beth.
Yeah, simple as that. Simple as that.
Mm-hmm. Rollo, what do you think?
I agree with them. I would like to see them all together. Mm-hmm. Even if it's just having them all on stage, even with Eric and Tommy there, because I do think they still need to be there.
Yeah.
Having Bruce and Ace and Peter on stage, I would definitely like to see that. Whether it'll happen or not, I don't know. Yeah. But, that would be awesome. And like you said, Madison Square Gardens. Absolutely. That would be great. Yeah.
The unfortunate reality is contracts and money and egos to make something like this happen,
Yeah.
But
I think
my vision is closer to Rob's. I would love to see the Bruce Kulick band open up. Mm-hmm. I would love to see the Ace band open up as well. Like having a festival,
Yeah.
And then KISS comes on with Tommy and Eric in makeup, and then Peter coming out and playing Beth on stage, and then everybody coming out with Rock and Roll All Night. That would be a dream. Is that going to happen? Doubtful. But honestly, I see it like it's going to be the end of the road, like it is now. One last show, that's it. I don't think there's going to be anything grandiose or special. I hope that's not true, but I think that's going to be the reality.
Reverse psychology.
Yes.
Reverse psychology. Nothing's going to happen, so I'm not going to be disappointed.
Lower your expectations. We'll see. So unfortunately, guys, we have to wrap up the show already. Wow. It went so quickly. So I want to wrap up our show the way you wrap up yours. So tell us where to go to listen to your show and how your listeners can reach all of you. Rob?
We're on most all major podcasts. I think I've got a few more to kind of get us out there, but you can find us on the major podcasts. You can find us on Twitter at RBTE Podcast. You can find us on Facebook at facebook.com/Right Between the Eyes Podcast, or on Instagram. And we're starting to do stuff on YouTube. But most of your major podcasts, you can find us there.
Nick?
Yeah, you can follow me at Caruso Jr. on Twitter. And we do a great podcast I do with my son and our good friend Nick Zednick, Vigilante 1939. That's our superhero podcast where we talk all the movies, DC, Marvel, the television shows, everything that's hot in the world of comics.
Yeah. Well said, brothers. You can follow me everywhere at NIKKOCARUSO. That's at Nikko Caruso on Twitter, Instagram, Letterboxd, at TikTok. I do a bunch of stuff on there. I do all these great shows with everyone. I love talking to people on Twitter. If you DM me or tweet at me, I promise you I will respond. I will tell you why Tobey Maguire is the greatest Spider-Man, why Kiss is the greatest band of all time. I love Twitter, so please come talk to me. And then, just check out all the stuff we do here, and you'll catch us on a bunch of other shows as well. But if you go to our Twitters, you'll find everything we do. And I promise you, there's probably something you like. And if not, come tell us why we suck, and we'll own it. And we'll own it. Thank you, brother.
And then personally for me, you can follow me at Drummer Rob 10 in my other shows, kind of on another hiatus of Tim Drake, the third and greatest Robin for Batman at ELTD Podcast.
Nice.
Rella,
any closing remarks?
It was nice to meet you guys, and I enjoyed the podcast tonight. It was nice to see how you guys interact with each other, and it's also great to see 3 generations of Kiss fans interact together, especially father and son here, and the way you met Rob. It's just really awesome. It was awesome to be here, and thank you for allowing me to help you tonight.
It was an honor. Thanks so much.
Thanks.
I remember earlier on in our podcast, we had pre-recorded an interview, and then another podcast did the same interview with that guest. And I ended up promoting that podcast as well. And I was told, well, why are you promoting other podcasts who have the same guests as you? My answer was, well, because we're podcasters. We're part of the family. And you could tell that what you guys are doing is a family thing that comes from the heart. It comes from the passion that you have, and it's a pleasure to have you guys part of the Kiss podcasting family. You're doing such a great job. You're adding so much to the community with your podcast and what you're doing with the show. And I think that I hope you guys get more and more listeners, because I think they're going to get a kick out of your show.
We appreciate. Thank you so much. It's so kind of you.
And thank you all, especially you both, but thank you all for welcoming us so much. It's not easy. A lot of podcasts, kind of like you just alluded to, a lot of podcast communities are very exclusive, and they don't like helping each other out. But man, the Kiss one has been the greatest thing in the world, and I truly mean that. So thank you so much for having us. This was a blast. One heck of a Wednesday night, honest to God.
This was the highlight all the week, and the peek behind the scene, like I like to do. The conversation we were having, like, we're doing a show tonight, but it's not on our show. It's on another Kiss podcast. And I really like this show that I tune in and watch on Sundays when I'm doing my editing. I'm like, I'll watch a show for a little bit. And next thing I know, the episode's over. I'm like, crap, I haven't edited our show yet. I got sucked into watching the episode. So that's why I stay up real late to edit the show. My wife's like, you coming to bed? I'm like, hold on. Pasca's saying something. I gotta listen.
So, to the Kiss Army, if you want to get involved with the Kiss Army Nation podcast, send us your comments, questions, or ideas to talk to me at kissarmynationpodcast.com. Thank you so much for listening. We hope you enjoyed this episode, and remember, never stop rocking. Take care, everyone. If you enjoyed this episode, like and subscribe on YouTube, or follow us on Spotify, Automatic, iHeartRadio, or wherever you listen to podcasts. Don't forget to make yourself heard. Leave us a comment on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram. See you all soon, Kiss Army.